With the state coming in to investigate Otter Creek and all the corruption, and Russ the Suss, and Mary and Laura Mott, everybody wants to know what's next for the town. We don't know what's next for Otter Creek, even though we hope the best for the town and for the people. But we do know some answers to some of your questions. For example, we've got Emo Kuliyai 966. Easy for me to say, right? So when will you get back into the 6,000 emails? Inquiring minds want to know. Soon. The issue with the 6,000 emails is there's just so much overwhelming information. And then you have to weave the whole storyline into all of the emails and go, okay, what are they talking about here? What are they talking about here? You know, you've got a whole portion of just gobbledygook love, it would appear, notes from Warm and Mary back and forth. Inappropriateness there. We'll get back to it, we promise. And then we have plans to reveal it and share it with all of you. Jay's World Original is saying, hey, Don's showing signs of dementia. Anybody else see this? I worked in nursing homes and Alzheimer's units for 19 years. We're all seeing it. There's definitely something wrong. Now, I think there's a couple different situations it could be, AJ. It could be dementia, the onset, although I don't feel he is showing all of the signs. I think what he's showing signs of is something else. And he has a history of it. He has a rap sheet of it. It's the devil's lettuce. Ben Jackson wants to know, who are these people that elected Russ and Don? Okay, well, let's get to a little bit of a foundation of who can elect Ben. First of all, you have to be a resident in the town limits of Otter Creek. And there are some who claim they are residents who are not residents. There are 71 registered voters as of the last election. That number could be going down, that number could be going up. For example, this election, George and I will be actually voting. And so Florida law states if you have an intention to live in Florida full time, you can vote in your local election, which George and I have all intentions to be in Florida full time. So the other individuals who elected Russ and Don, we don't know. All of that information is confidential, just like the people who you have voted for. Nobody knows that either. Now, there are some websites that try and assign you to a party. They'll say, well, you're Republican, you're Democrat. Remember, these aren't partisan elections. These are just individuals to represent the town. And nobody knows who voted for anybody. Just at the end of it, we get the tally of how many votes they got. Firefighter's got a good question. Says, how do you suspend a council member for misconduct? Is it at the discretion of the mayor, or does the council take a vote? We don't know. I'm not sure too many people have actually come across this before. I mean, who in the world would have fathomed that on a Tuesday night in a small town in Florida, in Levy County, that a council member would antagonize a resident, not only with saying, sue us, it's now punch me. So who has the authority to actually dismiss that council member? I don't think anybody truly knows right now. And so I do believe that's something that's being looked into. Who has the authority for this misconduct? Can they take action on that authority? And what are the consequences of those actions? Kayleen wants to know, is there a code of ethics in the town charter? Okay, Kayleen, it's been a while since I've read it. Remember, I was the first one to have it digitized. And then I digitized it and gave it to the residents that wanted it because Mary wasn't giving it to anybody. Now, keep in mind, also, Mary didn't give it to me. It was Captain Dan, another council member, that gave me his binder. I then took it to the print shop in Chiefland. The print shop digitized it to me as a PDF, and now I email it to anybody who wants a copy of it. I was the one that gave the information to the town. Captain Dan was the council member that gave me the information. Mary never gave me anything. Nothing. Is there a code of ethics? I don't remember seeing a code of ethics in a charter. But here's the other thing. Does a charter really need a code of ethics? I mean, I get it. You're going, okay, what Russ did was wrong. What Don is doing is wrong. And they should be dismissed. They should be fired. They should be let go. But isn't this more common sense? Does a charter really need a code of ethics where we have an internal code of ethics? You know it's wrong. I know it's wrong. He should be let go. User GK5 and a whole bunch of other letters and numbers wants to know, why did Gail get up and stand behind Russell before the trouble started? There are some that theorize that Gail knew it was going to happen. No. She had no idea it was going to happen. Nobody knew it was going to happen. Gale has hearing aids. Now, you can't see that on the films, even though we've shared that in the past. Gale has hearing aids. And therefore, she needed to be closer to where the actual conversations were going on so she could understand, process, and make intelligent decisions. That's one of the things I love and respect about Gale. She actually gets all the information, then she makes an educated decision and a vote based on that information. Living Adventures wants to know, why is this town so scared of cameras? We all live in cameras around our lives, whether we like it or not. Okay. I realize that there has been a statement made that they're afraid of the cameras, being afraid to visit their neighbors, who they could be said they are associated with. Put yourself, Living Adventures, in their situation. Let's say all of a sudden, Jeremy Hales is driving by what we affectionately call the turd sanctuary, okay? And all of a sudden, you are there. You're there. Now, I have to film it for my own protection and for accountability because of what keeps happening in regards to us being there. And now, all of a sudden, you're seen there. Now, what is Jeremy Hales going to say about you being there? Am I going to make some assumptions? Am I going to wonder what you're there for? For example, we've captured Russell there multiple times, right? So I can understand where they would go, well, if Jeremy catches us and we're over at those people's place, then he's going to say something about us. There's a good chance I will, because this channel is about What the Hales. It's about my life. They're my opinions. They're my thoughts. Whether they're right or whether they're wrong, it's just biased, not unbiased, biased opinions and thoughts by me. Shouldn't matter to anybody else, but it does. So fear can come from that because there's a huge following and people are glued to what's happening in Otter Creek. Because, as so many have said, not even Hollywood script writers could write a script this crazy with so many twists and turns. User KW1 wants to know, maybe if you agree to drop the lawsuit if Russ and the Suss and Don the Con resign. Okay, you understand if they agree to resign, then there's an opportunity for them to run again. So it would have to be a situation where not only do they resign, they never, ever, ever hold any type of public office again in their lives. Whether it be short-lived, as they are up in years, or not. They cannot, should not be in any public office capacity whatsoever. And I'm sure there's other restrictions that they should not be a part of. But how is dropping the lawsuit going to help anything? There's still a ton of information that has been hidden. There's still a ton of information that we've been lied about as residents of the town. There's still a ton of information that the people need to know about. Therefore, the lawsuit needs to go forward. We still need all the texts from Russ's phone and phones. We need all the texts from Mary's phone or phones. We need all the information so the people of Otter Creek can make intelligent voting decisions. Elner wants to know, can't you use the grant money to improve town hall, like a new room, kitchen, seats, computer, internet, and other stuff? No, we've been over this so many times in so many other videos. The grant money can only be used for two things. It's extremely limited. It's not free money from the government. Somebody's taxes paid for that, mine, yours, and now once you get it, you're going to have to upkeep it. So for example, if it's sidewalks, the people of Otter Creek, and it can be used for town-wide sidewalks, people of Otter Creek have to give their property to the town so that the town can then put sidewalks in. Now you have to upkeep them. There's going to be heaval. There's going to be... Actually, that's a lot less upkeep than a civic center. They can also build a building. They cannot take an existing building and renovate it. They can't take current town hall and renovate it. They have to build a new building, and building a new building comes a lot of cost. Your home has cost. Our home has cost. Your place of work has cost associated with it. They're called operating costs. There's variable operating costs, such as electric. More electric you use, the more you pay. That's variable. The less you use, the less you pay. That's variable. There's also fixed costs. There could be some things such as insurance for that building. It's the same every year, no matter what, as long as there's not an accident. 1961 Moppy wants to know, this must be a very stressful time for you both with the lawsuit and all that's going on. How is George with all this stress? I know she's not been well, and I hope she's doing okay. Well, I will share with you, Moppy. Number one, we were supposed to go back to Otter Creek the very first week of October, and you're going to see the reason why. George does not have a thyroid. She literally has heated gloves on right now.
She had 2 turtlenecks on, 2 pairs of pants on, only 1 pair of socks. I should have put 2 on. But how has it affected my health? There's been a lot of stress, a lot of anxiety, where it's forced me to go and get therapy because this is all new for me. I've never been in this type of situation, and so I need help on how to cope and how to deal with this.
Jennifer Anderson wants to know, did Mr. Meeks pay himself for the plumbing he screwed up with the water? I think that's one of the things that the people want to know as well. And as the boxes and boxes of paperwork and information that Mary just literally piled up in what looks like a dump, I think you're going to find the information. So there's another person that said, okay, well, Russell lied about the truck being donated from the county, which the truck was not donated. Out of those piles of information came information that Russell took out a loan and then created an ordinance to purchase the truck. Now Russell is backtracking, trying to cover himself. Well, the money was donated from the county. And there are people who are going, I don't get it. How is this a red flag for embezzlement? Frankly, I don't get it. How can you not understand this is a red flag for embezzlement? The man literally is telling everybody the truck was donated. So number one, he's lying to everybody. Now he's telling everybody that the county was giving money for the truck. Okay, but then he went out and took a loan on the truck. Where's the county money? Did it pay off the truck or did it go in Russell's pocket? There's the red flag for embezzlement. Safi Risky wants to know, could Mr. Fuller be held accountable for time spent on council under Russ for being silent? Okay, the state's coming in. Tallahassee is bringing representatives to investigate everything in Otter Creek. And anybody who is associated can be held responsible. So, for example, if Russ The Suss was the mayor or Laura Mott was the mayor, and these are the administrations that are under investigation, and Mr. Fuller was sitting in a capacity and he did nothing, he had knowledge, and he said nothing and he did nothing, or if Stuart Stewart, another board member, or Captain Dan, and Lord forbid, even Gail, the state can hold them responsible for what these other individuals did. Whether it be Russ The Suss, Mary, Laura Mott, the state can hold them legally responsible because they had knowledge or they had responsibility to have knowledge to know what's going on, and they did nothing. And I don't understand how anybody could think that that's okay, that there was no accountability whatsoever. Now the cameras are bringing all kinds of accountability, and they don't want cameras. Tony Edwards, he says, if a counselor cannot even access emails, how stupid are Americans for voting this fool? Okay, Tony is obviously on the other side of the world, looking in at Otter Creek and going, oh my goodness, I cannot believe you would vote this individual in. I agree with you 100%, Tony. There should be qualifications, there should be expectations, there should be daily functions that you should be able to adhere to, such as opening your emails, such as opening attachments on emails, such as walking to town hall and getting your packet early, such as professional, mature communication, such as, and we could go on and on and on, right, Tony? The rest of the world is looking at this too and going, who in the world would vote these fools in? Lori says, okay, but if he was the best lawyer, why didn't he stop the corruption before you ever moved to Otter Creek? All this corruption happening way before it was exposed. Now, Lori is going back to a comment that we've made in the past that Otter Creek actually had one of the county's best lawyers working for them. And she says, well, why didn't he stop it? Okay, well, Lori, you have to understand, the lawyer can no more stop you or stop me or stop Russ The Suss from doing foolish things if we decide to do them. Now, the lawyer, by all means, is giving good counsel. Don't do this. Don't say that. And then when they go the opposite direction and do what he said not to do or say what he said not to do, he can't physically stop them. What he can do is say, I don't want any more part of this circus. I don't want any more part of this babysitting adults, what are supposed to be adults. And that's what he did. He went, I'm out. I'm out. You don't take my counsel, you continue to create huge amounts of liability for yourselves, I'm out. I'm done. And that's what he did. He washed his hands of it and said, I am out for good. Becky Ryan says, he contacted me personally. Isn't that Russ The Suss's line? Well, that's when I told everybody the state contacted me personally. And what was Russ's response to that?
Your plumber called me personally.
I'd rather be contacted by the state investigator than my plumber. Kicking It with Caitlin says, Russell giving Belinda a flash drive. Why isn't that proof of Russell having taken out things? And can they give him a warrant for his arrest now? Why didn't anybody ask about the flash drive he gave Belinda? And no one asked questions on it? All right, Caitlin, let's kick it, okay? First of all, you and I can't issue a warrant for his arrest, right? Nor can the mayor or other council members. So the proper authorities have to get involved, and once they have the information, then they can go ahead and give the warrant for arrest. A lot of times when authorities are involved, they won't arrest in an attempt to gain more information so that they can actually pin more things against that person. I'm going to use an example for this. We were taken by a storage facility owner, Gary Allen, and we spent over $8,000 on a setup storage unit, which wasn't even a storage unit. This video is on our channel. When the sheriff came in, they said, we're not going to arrest him. What we're going to do is gather all the information so we can arrest him for every single count. And every count is a felony, theft by deception on Gary Allen. Not only that, the state is going after him, take his license from him as well. He wasn't arrested in the beginning because all the information is being gathered up so they can be arrested for every single count of illegal activity he did at the same time. The investigators will arrest when they are ready to arrest as they gather all the information. YouTuber Lord has a great question. He says, the problem I have is a hard time grasping if all the internal politics is dividing the town with such distrust, why stay incorporated? Unincorporating is the answer that's needed. So neighbors won't be against neighbors. There needs to be a legitimate reckoning of common sense to the pros and cons of incorporating and unincorporating. The thing that's pulling the people apart is the perceived power of a mayorship or a council member. Every town around them is not incorporated. They don't have mayors, they don't have town hall meetings, they don't have anything. And nor do they need it. And they either get along or they don't get along. So who cares about this power trip? Nobody needs these power trips. Give it to the county, be over with it, be done with it. All this stress is gone for all the people. Then there is absolutely nothing for anybody to record, except for a YouTuber like me who records his daily life. Leave my life alone, and then we won't have any problems. Angela Edwards wants to know, I have a question. Did Madam Mayor have the right to appoint the one-year term to Meeks? The answer is, Angela, you need to go back and watch all of our videos because we've already tackled this many times. Just as Madam Mayor said, it's already been done. We're moving on. She's already contacted the state. The state has already told her she had every legal right. There is no precedent that she doesn't have a legal right, so she went ahead and she appointed it. She let the state know that she was going to appoint the position, and the state said, okay. And so, yes, she had every right to appoint it to Russell Meeks. And now, think again, why is Russell Meeks and Don the Con so concerned about this one-year term in the first place? If they're so good for Otter Creek, if they're what Otter Creek needs so bad, wouldn't the residents of Otter Creek vote them in regardless of whether they're on a one-year term or a two-year term or a three-year term or a four-year term or a half-month term? How would a term even matter if they're so good? If they're what this town needs, why does a term limit, why does a term number ever matter? They would all get voted back in anyway, right? Phyllis Sweet Pea has a pretty good question. She says, can't the county prosecutor be used as your town attorney? I've been on town council for a number of years, but I was thinking we use the county prosecutor as our attorney, who's already paid by the taxpayers. Very small towns struggle paying attorney fees. Just a thought. Sweet Pea, this is the first time I've ever even heard it brought up. To my knowledge, I do not believe the prosecutor would be used by a small town. You'd have to pay fees. So if that prosecutor is hired by the county, then that prosecutor has a job description for the county, right? They're paid by the county to do that job and not outside fringe jobs. So wouldn't the town, if that prosecutor has to be there at these hours during the day, and then the town says, well, we need you to come over to our town and be our attorney for our town, don't you think he deserves to be paid for his services, his expertise? You would still end up paying an individual. You can't go, well, I'm just going to take them from the county because taxpayers are already paying them from the county. Now you're adding all the services and extra time, and it doesn't work that way in the real world. I don't think there's any way whatsoever that we would be able to use the county prosecutor. Whoever the town gets, they have to be paid. Free Shadow's got a really good question, George. He says, I've been watching your channel since I saw you pay your water bill with Mary. You've given me a fantastic education in civics and human behavior. If you were going to buy another property, would you first attend a town hall meeting? George, I'm curious, what say ye?
With the knowledge that I have now, or going back not knowing? I mean, I've never purchased a home and attended a town hall meeting in hopes that I would have a better understanding of how the town was run. That's kind of a trick question, but if we were to do it all over again, knowing what we know now, I don't know. That's a tough one.
I'm curious if anybody out there ever purchased property or a home and went to a town hall meeting first before they did. That's not typically what you do. Like, hey, realtor, when's the town hall meeting? Let's schedule our viewing of the property, and at the same time as the town hall meeting, we'll jump from one to the other. It's going to be fun. I'll bring snacks. There'll be drinks. It's going to be a good time. People don't typically do that type of thing. Now, will we buy more property in the future? Yeah, we have property in multiple states. And for example, I'm just going to use, for example, our warehouse property that we have here in Ohio. There is a video of that. I buy it at auction. I win it at auction. I think I paid roughly $115,000 when everything was said and done with fees. I never went to one single town hall meeting. I went to the auction. I wanted the property. I bought the property. We own the property. We continued to develop the property. This is not a normal thing. We wish we would have gone to a town hall meeting at this point. If we would have gone to a town hall meeting first, George, do you think we still would have bought in Otter Creek?
Well, the property that we were looking at checked off all of the boxes. So that was more important to us versus a town hall meeting that occurs once a month. This is everyday living on a piece of property that checks off everything that you need. So to me, going to a town hall meeting isn't on my priority list.
Well,
I'm going to look at which boxes are checked off that fits my needs.
I thought she was done. She wasn't done. Well, what I want to add to that is George and I have bought more property in Otter Creek after we've been to all these town hall meetings. We bought the old church lot, and now we bought the school lot as well. We went to all these meetings. Obviously, we still bought more, and we'll continue to. Still Kicking says, you really trust the Suss or Don to head up anything? Where's Stewart these days? Okay, let's take question number one. Madam Mayor is looking for the council members to actually be over the head of different departments. It's not one person who should be doing all this work. It's the council as a whole. Do I trust Russ The Suss? No. Do I trust Don the Con? No. Does that mean they get out of responsibilities? No. If they were voted in by the residents to do the job of a council member, they should actually do the job that the residents voted them for, regardless of whether I trust them or not. Okay, so what's going on with Stuart Stewart? Well, I can tell you one thing. He ran for the last election, and he lost. And he hasn't been to a single meeting since. Now, if you care so much about this town, if you care so much that you're going to run, why aren't you at the meetings regardless of whether you are a council member or not? Same goes with Laura Mott, same goes with Captain Dan, same goes with other individuals. So what is it that you really cared about? Did you only care about the $100 you were getting a month, or do you really care about the town and the people? Because of right now, all it looks like a Stuart Stewart or a Laura Mott or a Captain Dan cared about was that check for $100. Because I don't see them doing anything or representing the people at all in these monthly meetings. They're gone. They're a mist. They're a vapor. Where are they? Who the hell knows? Ooh, Augustine poking now. Poking, it gets serious right here. Augustine says, I'd love to know how much money the lawyer had charged Otter Creek for services rendered. Is that something that can be found out? Augustine. So what's already happened, you've seen this in the past videos as well, is that Attorney Worm submitted an over $10,000 bill for communication through email with Mary. Number one, inappropriate communication. Number two, gossip communication. And we could keep going on and on. Communication that should have never been happening in the first place. For witch hunts, to try and take permits away from people, to try and control Otter Creek. What's in Otter Creek to even control? I mean, seriously, let's think about this. What is there to have control over? Water that's not even clean. Why would you want to have control over dirty water? Again, all of this stuff just blows my mind. So over a $10,000 bill was already submitted. So we know that for sure. Now, over the long run, because we were told that $10,000+ bill was submitted in one of the previous meetings. Over the long run, I don't know what he charged. I don't know if that's been shared yet in any of the meetings, but it's not one that I can think of that any of the recent meetings. But maybe it will be in the future. Ann Ortiz wants to know, how many times has City Council filed parliamentary procedures when Russ The Suss was mayor? All right, let me think here. There was that, and okay, remember we came back from the summer for the answer's zero, none. He never ever followed those procedures at all. Michael wants to know, who was vice mayor when Russ The Suss was mayor? That would have been Stuart Stewart. And no, I'm not joking. His first name is Stewart. His last name is Stewart. The thing he'll tell you is, my mom and dad knew I was so dumb they called me the same name twice. He'll say that to your face. That's why I'm saying it to you as well. If you ever meet him, you'll see him, and that's what he'll tell you. That's why his name is Stuart Stewart. Yaya says, embezzlement? Oh yeah. My thoughts also. How much was the loan for? And what was the total price of the truck? Documented paperwork? Not anymore. Russ removed it. But it can still be traced. Let's get to the loan. From what I understand, the loan was for $19,000. Hopefully I have that correct. And I believe that was in the last meeting because Madam Mayor says you pulled out a loan for this much money. It's either 19 or 18, but my mind keeps focusing on 19 without going back and looking at the information. And where's the paperwork? Well, where do you think it is? Russ The Suss was pulling quite a few things out of that town hall when it was shut down for months at a time because Mary wasn't there because there's no clerk, there's no show. But he didn't get everything, did he? No, he definitely did not get everything. Debbie wants to know, how do you apply to be elected as a council member in the town? And then she says, better yet, once on the board, how do you get off the board? Okay, Debbie, first of all, there's one huge requirement to be a council member in the town of Otter Creek. You have to live in the town of Otter Creek. So we see a lot of comments and a lot of people saying, well, this person should run for council. This person should run for council. This person should run for council. They can't run for council. They don't meet the actual requirement, which is one, you have to live in the town of Otter Creek. Other people who are filming there, people go, well, you should run for council. They can't. They don't live in Otter Creek. You have one requirement. It's really that easy. One requirement. You have to live in the town of Otter Creek. Is there an age requirement? Nope. As a matter of fact, there's an article online where an 18-year-old was voted in. An 18-year-old was voted in not too many years ago, roughly 20 or 25 years ago. An 18-year-old was voted in. The way you get them out is you stop voting them in. You clean up your town, you clean up your council, and then you bring back the reputation of being a restful, a peaceful, an attraction where people want to live, where they want to raise families, where they want to have businesses that help one another. Charles wants to know, okay, where is Richard? Is he still the maintenance man? Yeah, he's still the maintenance man. He's been in the meetings. He's just hiding in the back, keeping to himself, and that's normal for Richard. So yeah, Richard's still the maintenance man. He's still taking care of all the needs of the town. Kicking It with Yaya also wants to know, has Russell quit recording? And the answer is no. He was recording at the last meeting as well. And what did he do? He walked out illegally with the recording. So he gave the thumb drive to Belinda, yet he walked out again illegally with town hall property on the recording. This fool continues to incriminate himself further and further and further. And I gotta say, I love it. He makes my job easy. Karen says she wants to know, did Gail have any idea how bad this stuff with Russell and Mary is? Karen, I don't think anybody who truly understood what was really going on, because they were kept in the dark on purpose. And some people were happy about that. They didn't want to be involved. They didn't want extra responsibilities. They didn't want to be in the know. They just want somebody else to take care of it. That's the easiest thing for us in our lives, right? And we're like, well, let somebody else do it. Well, now that puts them in a situation where they're in a world of hurt and a world of trouble. If the state comes in and goes, well, you were on the board, you were on the council, you're responsible for all of this as well. They should have known what was going on. But I don't think anybody truly did know. It's all being revealed. Every meeting, something else is being revealed. Here's this. Here's this. Now here's this. Last meeting, we see lying about loans and lying about... we could just go on and on, right? The list could be like boom, 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 boom. Did anybody know this was happening? Nope. But there's so much more. And that's the thing. There's a mountain and a mountain and a mountain of paperwork left behind. Who knows what else they're going to dig up? Deidre Howard's got a phenomenal question. Okay, so if Russell purchased an $800 computer last year, why is Belinda needing a new computer already? Where's the computer they spent $800 on? I don't know. Deidre, I have no idea. So I've been thinking the same thing. Okay, so Russ The Suss, he claims there's an emergency, and it's not even an emergency. They buy a laptop. They purchase Zoom because Attorney Warren tells them they have to so that he can consult with them instead of him actually coming in person to the meetings. Remember, he only ever came once, and that's when there was no clerk. He sat in to function as the clerk. So he goes against the charter, which states anything over $500 must have 3 bids and the council must vote on. He claims it's an emergency. He can spend under $500 in an emergency, but he breaks the law and he breaks the charter, right? So where's the laptop? I don't know. Is this the laptop that's maybe crashing now? Did Russ The Suss sabotage the laptop that Belinda is using in an attempt to destroy evidence potentially? I don't know any of those questions, but I think they're good ones to ask. James wants to know, how old is the charter for the town of Otter Creek? Let's take a peek. You can see February 12th, 1996. That's a code of ordinances. But if we go down and we scroll down, this is the actual paperwork. Chapter 1, Town Charter, 1.000, Creation of the Town. The town of Otter Creek, Levy County, Florida, is created and established by the legislature of the state of Florida through charter number, right here, 69-1405, and is effective September 9th, 1969. That's Otter Creek's birthday. You're probably wondering, well, what did they do differently before they incorporated? Nothing. That's the same thing that would happen if they unincorporate. They just go back to no town hall meetings. User WL8 says, hi, what are you going to do with the lawsuit money if you win? Are you going to donate it back to Madam Mayor for her reuse for the betterment of Otter Creek? Well, user WL8, that would be a little bit of a confidential conversation that you're not privy to yet. Although you can ask questions, I reserve the right to not answer them. It is my life, right? And so at this point in time, George, maybe George wants to answer. You got an answer? Tall chap wants to know, who's got the $869 laptop? I don't know. George, do you know?
No idea.
Is it still in the office?
No idea.
It's got to be the laptop that we used to see Mary getting on Zoom, even though she didn't have any clue how to get on Zoom, and it never worked, and it was never on time, and nothing ever worked appropriately. The sound was horrible. All this extra money for absolutely no payoff whatsoever for the town of Otter Creek. It is just wasted funds when Worm should have been there in person. Not only was he charging them extra money, they had to spend extra money to actually have him represent them because he wouldn't show up in person. Carmen says, is it only me? Or did anyone else? Were you hoping that he'd punch Russ The Suss in the mouth? Carmen, I can't tell you what I was hoping or not. Joy for God says, You know what's hilarious? Question mark. Lots of things. I like humor. You like humor, George?
I love a good laugh.
She says, this could be your town on YouTube, ... LOL, my town has always videoed their meetings and puts them on YouTube. So Gail, I hate to tell you, this is what most honest towns do. They use YouTube Live while the meeting is going on and post them for all to see. And that's exactly right. This is the standard, this is the norm, that towns put the information out so the residents know what's going on. The standard and norm for Otter Creek has been Russell suppress and not let any information out to the people. Grandma Honey says, did you see the hand gestures from Russ to Don? That's exactly why he went around the table to see him, because he isn't any closer than he was before, and it's not about his hearing, just awe in general. And bless Belinda's heart. So Grandma Honey, we do believe, absolutely, that there's still hand gestures coming from Russell to Don. Go back, watch all the meetings. You can count them. There are some who are keeping tally and are keeping count of all the gestures going back and forth, which is odd to us. It is Otter Creek, because Don was so opposed to Russell. So much so that Mary tried to lock him out of a secret meeting out of town hall. That's all in the 6,000 emails. And now they're giving signs to one another. Nemo Fish says, when is the next election for the board? That'll be this upcoming April 2024. Make Otter Creek great again. Lyle wants to know, Jeremy, is there any way after the prayer, after the Pledge of Allegiance, can you please play the theme song from The Muppet Show? Melissa Frazier says, I laughed when the mayor raised the election board filing will be done electronically from now on. Don and Russ may be done forever. If you can't do email, how can you manage to file their details electronically? And not only that, the Board of Elections is digging deep into every individual's personal finances. Again, the issue is stewardship. They want to detract or distract theft on any municipality front, right? So if you are in a situation where you're living in a shed illegally, you got no money, you're a victim of everybody and everything, there is no way in Hales that the election board would allow you to run financially. That is too much of a risk for you to steal and take from the town. Tropical Mom says, hey, if you change the time to 6, you might be able to find an attorney who can actually come at 6 without needing a hotel. And she says, what do I know? Every other meeting around them is at 6 p.m. That's the standard. Our meetings here are at 6 p.m. Otter Creek is the only area or town that we know of that has a meeting at 7 p.m. If the meeting is at 7 p.m. because they want to try and increase participation, they have failed miserably. So therefore, try something new. Why not try 6 p.m.? If it doesn't work, you can always change it back to 7 p.m. You could go 7:30. You could go 6:30. You know what? You could go 6:37 if you wanted to. But it's obviously not working the way it is. Find something that does work for the people. Deborah makes a lot of good points, but I'm going to focus on one right down here. Okay? So, now Russ The Suss is against the supervisor of elections. That would be Tammy Jones. Gee, is it because she's female as well? That would be my guess. We have seen time and time again that Russ The Suss is against any female leadership whatsoever. And you know that's sad, because he needs females in his life. It's obvious. He's already told us ain't no clerk, ain't no show, and Mary was a female. Except Russ always tried to get people who were lower than him, whose skill set, intelligence, everything in life was lower than them. What you want in life is to hire people who are better than you. They will raise and bring you up as well. Whenever I hire, I look for an individual who is better at me, better than me, you name it, who can bring me, teach me, raise me, and bring me up to their level. Judith says, what? No Lynette at the meeting? She must have gotten more turtles or her potty overflowed. Well, Judith, the issue is truly a legal one. She cannot come within 500 feet of myself, George, my family members, my workers. They're all covered as third parties as well under the ex parte civil protection order. Anywhere I show up, she must leave immediately. If she's there first, it doesn't matter. She has to leave. So what's the point in her and John even showing up at all? Because my employee is there. Carl Riggs says, I can't wait to see what happens. This is better than any soap opera. Anyone have any predictions on what's going to happen? Well, if you do have predictions, please, by all means, let us know in the comments when you're done watching the video. George Mitchell says, Jeremy, when are you going to release that recipe of Mary's French toast casserole? You can actually get some, George, this weekend in Otter Creek. All you got to do is go to the old schoolhouse. It's right in the middle of Otter Creek. And from 7 a.m. to 3 p.m., they're doing a community yard sale. Going to be a lot of events for kids, for the family. You can get French toast casserole on a stick. Yes. You can get it in Otter Creek this weekend only. Well, maybe in the future as well, but now's the time to get it. This Saturday, October 21st.